The Huntress in the Fog. Baba Yaga is real, and she is weeping. Classified Imperial Transmission. Day 314 of the Human Subjugation War. The orbital sky above the charred world of New Volgograd churned with ion storms, an aftereffect of orbital bombardment so thorough the crust itself shifted. Beneath that poisoned sky, the flagship Vigilance hung like a vulture in stillness. Inside, the bridge was quiet except for the low thrum of engines and the click-click of taloned digits on obsidian metal consoles. Grand Admiral Zex Valtarath, Supreme Executor of the Galactic Empire's expansion arm, stared at the burnt landscape through the viewport. Behind him, junior officers stood stiff, chitin-plated and silent. "This was the last one," he said, voice like a whetstone dragged over steel. "The final human world." His tactical adjunct bowed. "Yes, Grand Admiral. Resistance has ceased. The culling is complete." Zex turned, expression blank. "And yet this..." He gestured toward the floating holoscreen. A flickering, low-resolution image, grainy and cracked with static, but unmistakable. A figure in scorched power armor knelt beside a pile of burned corpses, clutching a charred doll. A woman. Human. Broken. And crying. "Baba Yaga," whispered a comms officer. The word passed through the room like a plague. Zex sneered. Myth. Assassin. Ghost. And now, grieving failure. He waved a claw dismissively. "Prepare a system-wide transmission. Show them this moment. Their butcher weeps. Let be the end of their hope." 2 weeks earlier, Empire Black Site Theta 7, planet Dravosh Prime. They called her Death Incarnate, the war's phantom, Anya Petrova, codenamed Baba Yaga. No medals, no rank that mattered. She didn't fight battles. She ended them. Tonight, she moved through fog and steel, cloak flickering between visibility and optical stealth. Her armor, a matte black exosuit lined with psych-sensitive neuroebs, mimicked silence. Her breathing was shallow, mind hyper-focused. Target, extraction of 7 scientists. Human prisoners. Time-sensitive. No backup. Dravosh Prime's twin moons hung like skulls above the base. Beneath them, Anya infiltrated through a drained shaft that hadn't seen use in centuries. The stench of old rot and chemical waste curled around her as she descended. Every motion was surgical, no wasted movement. A guard rounded the corner, dead before he could blink. Pulse knife to the neck. No sound. Security cameras blinked and fizzled, disabled before systems could react. 50 meters to the lab. She heard the screams before she reached the door. Her pulse didn't spike, but something inside her twisted. She blew the door open. Plasma singed the air. What she found on the other side stopped her. The scientists, what was left of them, hung from the ceiling in pieces. Carved open, gutted, a mockery of anatomy displayed like art. Symbols in human blood scrawled across the walls in old Earth Cyrillic. She stepped forward in silence. One body still twitched. She knelt beside a woman, once Dr. Rhea Mallory, Anya's former field medic, eyes gouged out, her voice a rasping whisper. "They knew you'd come," she gasped. Made it for you." Her hand trembled and reached up, brushing Anya's cheek. And then she died. Anya stood, trembling, not with fear, not even rage, with grief. She removed her helmet. Her face was gaunt, pale. Scars traced her jawline like topographic lines, and her eyes filled with tears. Her shoulders shook. Her breath hitched. She screamed, long and raw and agonized. It echoed through the empty halls of the Black Site, recorded by a dozen hidden Imperial probes. She didn't care. Now, Imperial Command Vault, Subsector Tarsus. Zex watched the footage again and again. "She's never failed," he murmured. "No, Grand Admiral," said his aide. "Until now." He grinned, teeth sharp as razors. "Then we have one. Prepare to broadcast the image across all sectors." "But, sir, should we not prepare for retaliation?" "She's broken," he snapped. "What threat is a ghost who has lost her purpose?" But even as he spoke, for listening posts in outer sectors blinked offline. Resistance Deep Cell, Outworld Refugee Camp, Icehold. The footage reached them on a cracked screen powered by scavenged solar cells. A girl, no older than 10, watched the grainy video of Anya sobbing beside the bodies. Her father turned away, unable to bear it. But the girl stared longer, then whispered, "She's crying for us." The Resistance commander uploaded the footage to every secret channel, every pirate frequency, every hidden net. Not as shame, but as signal. If the Baba Yaga cries, then mercy is gone, and war is all that's left. 3 days later, listening post Aleph 9. The facility's last transmission was a scream, followed by silence. An inspection team found nothing but blood. No bodies, no signs of battle, just words scrawled in red. "You made me feel. You made me real." And beneath it, a child's doll, scorched yet intact. The Empire's analysts watched, disbelieved, then trembled. They had made a fatal mistake. When monsters prey, they thought they had broken her. But you cannot shatter what was never whole. And when a monster weeps, it is not for herself, but for what she's about to become. Anonymous Resistance broadcast. The stars above the Imperial sector, known as the Verdant Rim, began to dim, system by system. First came the disappearances, outposts gone quiet, patrols never returning, supply lines severed. What few distress calls reached command were incoherent, fragmented with static and fear. And then came the messages, not from survivors, but from her. Do you remember them? The voice whispered across open frequencies, laced with raw steel and sorrow. The children you dissected, the elders you burned, the ones who begged. Every word was followed by destruction. Communications hubs incinerated. Star bases collapsed inward from precision internal detonations. Entire moons hollowed out like rotted fruit. No fleets arrived in time. They were already dead by the time their distress calls were answered. She didn't move like an army. She moved like a judgment. Imperial Core World Selvaris, War Council Hall. Admiral Zex's breath fogged against the chill of the council chamber. Not from temperature, from fear. "We are being hunted," said Strategos Minzak. One operative. Human. Designation, Baba Yaga. Confirmed visual matches in 27 assaults. Over 90 high-value assets eliminated. "Impossible," Zex hissed. She wept. "We broke her." "No," Minzak said. "You freed her." Zex slammed a clawed fist onto the table. "Order full mobilization. Strip mine Sector Delta for resources. Burn every rebel haven." "But sir," a younger officer whispered, "we've done that already." "That's why she's coming." Zex turned to the holoscreen. It displayed the latest attack. A fleet yard, once the pride of the Empire, now a cinder ring. Left in orbit, a single human skull, marked with Cyrillic glyphs. The translation was simple. Do you remember screaming? Outer Colony, Resistance, Warforge Ishwake. They no longer called her by name. She had become a prayer, a warning, a war cry. Across Resistance networks, her image, the one from New Volgograd, was weaponized. Looping footage of her kneeling beside the bodies, the tears trailing down her soot-covered cheeks. A grieving goddess in armor. They broadcast it with every ambush, every uprising, every final stand. "We cry with her," they would say, "and then we make them bleed." Former pacifists picked up rifles. Broken droids reactivated themselves. Entire alien species that once feared humanity now pledged themselves to this new mythos of vengeance. And through it all, the Baba Yaga was never seen twice in the same place. She was everywhere. 1 week later, Imperial Fortress World Kravos Ultima, the strongest military stronghold outside Selvaris. Gone in a single night. Blackout. Systems failure. Last visual showed a single figure standing atop the command spire, wings of fire, and ash spiraling from her armor. Her eyes glowing. Then silence. No survivors. No explosion. Just absence. The Empire began to fray. Zex's personal log. Private chambers. Selvaris. She was supposed to be a weapon. Cold. Predictable. Now she moves like grief incarnate. She doesn't kill to win. She kills to punish. We were gods. Now we hide behind walls. I see her in my sleep, in the silence between alarms. In the flicker of dying stars. They say she cries before she strikes. I no longer know whether I fear her more when she does, or when she doesn't. The final campaign, Selvaris, Imperial Capital. It began not with a fleet, but with a whisper. The skies above Selvaris turned red, not from ships, but from hacked atmospheric generators. Resistance agents had turned the weather itself against the capital. Civil unrest spiraled into chaos. Civilians, oppressed for generations, took up arms. Sectors once loyal to Zex's rule joined the resistance, not out of love for humans, but hatred for what the Empire had become. Then at last she arrived, not from orbit, but from beneath. Anya emerged from the Undercity during a riot, cloaked in the shadows of fire and debris. Her armor bore the scars of 1,000 battles, pieces fused with scrap and war trophies, shards of Imperial banners, enemy insignia, even a child's bracelet looped around her gauntlet. She walked through gunfire, through terror, through the trembling hands of men who forgot how to fight, not as a soldier, as a curse given form. The final confrontation, War Council Citadel. Zex stood alone in the central hall, firelight dancing against polished obsidian. The others had fled, or died. He heard the doors creak open, not with violence, just inevitability. Anya entered, silent, no weapons drawn. Her eyes met his. They were not enraged. They were tired. "You came," he whispered. She said nothing. He dropped to his knees. "You were right. We deserved it. I made you cry." Anya knelt, mirroring him. A pause. Then a single tear rolled down her cheek. "Not for you," she said. She pulled a sidearm, placed it to his head. Zex did not scream. She didn't fire. She let him wait. And then, in a whisper, "This is for the ones who never got to see justice." She stood, turned, and left him alone. The resistance would find him soon. They would not be kind. Epilogue. 1 year later. The Galactic Empire was no more. It fractured, collapsed, and was buried beneath the weight of its own cruelty. Selvaris became a shrine, not to victory, but to warning. No new government rose to replace the Empire. Instead, coalitions formed, loosely held, guided not by power, but memory, of what happens when you mistake the grief of a warrior for weakness, of what happens when you force the monster to prey. Baba Yaga vanished. Some say she died on a distant moon. Others say she walks among refugees, nameless. One legend says she waits among the stars for a reason to cry again, because when she does, the stars will burn.